I'm for the kids in the classroom, not for the adults in education. I'm for the kids in the classroom.
Welcome to Talkin with Doyle, the podcast that gets State Representative Doyle Heffley talking. Doyle, I think we have to start off this podcast. We asked for comments, and last time the viewers, they chimed in. They wanted to know. They wanted you to talk more about the education code following up the state budget and just what that means for the future of cyber charter schools. I'll let you talk as long as you want. I'll enjoy my time here in the Carbon County Cocktail Lounge, and I'll let you talk.
Yeah, so public education is about 40% of the state budget, and we've seen massive increases in funding for public education. There's also money that went to the school safety grants. We've been doing that every year for the enhanced school safety. So overall, like how the education code works is you kind of bundle up a whole bunch of things. What the code bills are: the fiscal code, human service code, education code. So when you pass a budget, you have the overall how much money you're going to spend, and then each line item, like X amount of dollars going for this and for this. The code bills are kind of like the roadmap, then how that money's driven out to different entities. And inside that code bill, there's policy things that maybe have gotten passed or haven't gotten passed, and policy changes or initiatives. In the education code, there was a lot of good things in the education code. We increased the EITC. Which is the earned income tax credit for businesses that contribute for the economically disadvantaged school districts. So those are children in the bottom 10% of schools that want to opt out and go to a private or non-public school. So that's a $50 million increase to those students, and that program has been very popular. There were some school safety grants that were involved in that extra money going out to schools through the new funding formula. So there were school districts in Carbon County that had been historically underfunded, which received additional dollars. And then there were some cyber charter reforms, and a little bit of the history on cyber charters. I've always been a staunch supporter, and always will be, of school choice. I think school choice is a good thing. Competition makes everything better, right? If Burger King would have never came along, McDonald's probably would have never came up with the Chicken McNugget, right? And where would we be as a society without competition? You wouldn't have Coke and Pepsi, battling out. Competition makes everything better, and no different in public education. I think cyber charter schools and cyber schools fill a need in the community. You have students which are not doing well in the public schools. Maybe it's because of bullying. Maybe it's for whatever issue, and maybe the public school just isn't that good. And we have that. So years ago we created, and I've always voted for and supported funding for both the EITC programs, and also make sure that charter schools and cyber charter schools are a viable option. Unfortunately, the governor's office and the Democratic majority in the state house do not feel that way. And the majority leader of the Democratic Education Committee said that he does not believe that there should be competition in education. So they want to do away with cyber charter schools and charter schools. Now, there have been some issues. We had a couple times attempted to pass cyber charter reforms. And with the charter schools, the cyber charters came out years ago. We supported them. But as things go along, you see where there's opportunities, maybe we could tweak things here and there. One of the things that we tweaked in here is making sure that the students that go to a cyber charter school are attending or live in that district. So how funding for cyber charters works in charter schools, and this would be kind of the elementary version, they get 75% of whatever the school district spends per pupil. And we have a wide range in spending. There's school districts that spend $12,000 or $15,000 per pupil, and there's school districts that spend over $26,000 to $27,000 to $28,000 per pupil. So each district gets X amount of dollars through the funding formulas from the state, and then they rely on local property taxes. They increase property taxes to fund it, or if they have a huge tax base. You look at some school districts, you drive by and it looks like a college campus. They got turf football fields, turf practice fields, training centers, and all kinds of crazy things. So maybe they have that big tax base and they rely on a lot of local property taxes, which I'm opposed to school district property taxes, just get that out there right now. But so how does cyber charter funding works? That money goes out, 75%. They deduct the the transportation costs, obviously, they're not getting buses, so what the school districts get for transportation, which is a separate line item, they don't get that part of it. They don't get the cost of nutrition, right, because they're not feeding the kids in the cyber school. And they don't get the pension, because the pension costs, the contribution for the state to the public school and pension, all cyber charter employees are public school employees, right? So the misconception is that they're somehow this other entity. They're all part of the public school system. They are all under the public school pension system. So they don't get the 75% because they already are getting their pension payment from the state. So with that, the governor's proposal was to cap all cyber charters at no more than $8,000 per pupil, right? That was it. That was the statewide cap. And the cyber charter school said that that'll never, if they did that, it would put a lot of cyber charters out of business. They couldn't afford to do that. At the end of the day, there was about $175 million in what the school districts would call savings, and what the charter schools will say a cut. But there's a reduction in how much the schools are going to have to pay to the cyber charter schools. I do think there's some room for some conversation there. The governor was proposing over $400 million in cuts. The House Democratic caucus wants to do away with cyber charter schools altogether. So had they gotten their way and we not kind of negotiated to get some things in here, that's what would have happened. So we're in the minority in the state house. The governor's office, the House Democrats are opposed to cyber charter schools and charter school and school choice. We're the caucus that's sticking up for them and fighting for them. There was a reduction, but there were some other things in the budget that were good, but it was never, ever going to get done without giving a little bit on that issue. We felt that what we did have to give wasn't going to drastically affect it. It's a large number when you look at it, but in a small, what's a very small percentage reduction. And we want to ensure that we're going to continue to work and provide those education opportunities for students throughout the Commonwealth.
Maybe talk to me. You don't get everything you want in a negotiation, but this state budget and this education code does still provide for school choice, which is, again, something you wanted.
Yeah, it still provides for school choice, and it also increases $50 million in the EITC program, which is a good thing for school choice, and it does apply some accountability measures into cyber charter schools, right? The residency thing. So if a student, maybe they live in a school district and then they move. So I had this case, and this is a very real thing that happens, right? So a student, maybe they move here from New York or New Jersey, and they enroll in a school. And they then sign up for a cyber charter, and the family moves. They move back to New York. So if you're going to attend a regular school, right, and you move out of the district to another district, you then move to that district. But so residency is a big issue, and a lot of the public schools or local schools have concerns because you have a school district which has a much higher spend number, so the cyber charter is getting more money from them. But who's going to prove the residency of that student? Is it fair that we make the schools run around and find out, did this student still live here or not? When the home that they lived in is rented to another family with other students in it. So accountability and making sure, like if that student moves back to New York, then it's up to the state of New York, not up to the property taxpayers in Pennsylvania to pay for that child's education. So that's some of the accountability measures, which I did support. Truancy is a big issue. We really went after truancy in this legislation to make sure that the students, whether in cyber charter schools or in their home school, to make sure that they're showing up for classes and that there's accountability. So, I support school choice, but I think there needs to be accounting on both sides of the table.
I feel like that's a hard argument to draw something against, because who wants their taxpayer dollars going to fund who wants their Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars, I should say, going to pay for the education of a kid who's going to school in New York? I think that's
that's one of the measures in here. And look, those could be outliers, but if you have small districts that maybe you have 5 or 10 kids, that's a lot of money that you're taking away from the other kids in that district, and it's also a lot of money that's coming out of the cyber charter schools because those kids aren't living here. So yeah, there's some accountabilities. We've gone after this several times with cyber charter reform to get get all the stakeholders at the table. Unfortunately, right now with the current makeup in the state house, There's a lot of people that want to see these types of programs, these school choice, go away. I, for one, preserve it. I think parents know best. Parents know if their child is going to do better in a brick and mortar school, charter school, or in a cyber charter school. There's families and students that thrive in cyber charter schools, and there's the kids that thrive in their home school, right? So, whatever that choice may be, but it really should be up to the child, and especially when you see some of the social stuff and some of the stuff that comes out of school districts. Parents want to have more say, and I'm never going to vote to take that away.
What's the future then for school choice? If it seems like if maybe House Democrats are, again, trying to pull away some of that funding, you're trying to fight for it, what's next?
It's going to continue to be a battle, right? I mean, it's a large chunk of money. We spend an enormous amount of money. We're like third or fourth, maybe fifth now, in the nation on our per pupil spending. That includes state, federal, and your local property tax dollars too, right? So this has a local element. These are your taxes. These are the checks that you're sitting at your table and writing out. So I think there's a lot of things. I mean, there's a bill out there right now that would guarantee any student, whether they go to a cyber charter school or a charter school, the right, if they live in that school district, to compete in athletics, and when they should be, because their parents are still paying property taxes, right? So I think there's a lot of reforms that we need to continue to make. Education, everything's changing, right? All of society is changing. The jobs of yesterday and the jobs of tomorrow are two different things, right? People are working from home. Kids are learning from home. Some people still go to work. Some kids still go to school. Families have different dynamics. There's kids that progress through the system really well, and they go and take college courses while in high school. Kids are graduating with an associate's degree and a high school diploma at the same time. I don't want to hold any of that back. We need to continue to evolve and reform. So I'm all about choice, but it's really got to come down to the parental rights and parental control in the schools. And some of the social things that are being said, you look at some of the absurdities that there were some public school employees were saying after Charlie Kirk was shot. I would never send my kid in a classroom with a teacher who thought that it was okay that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, or that he somehow, because what do they think of my kids? What do they think of me or anybody else? So I think parents need to have those choices when it comes to education, and I think our public education system needs to step up and be more accountable.
Do you foresee in the next year's budget this also being a fight?
Yeah, it's going to continue to be a fight. Look, there's very powerful entities out there that want to do away with school choice. And they're not going to give up. This will continue to be a fight, probably long. It's always going to be this battle, right? And you say fight, you say battle. It's how we govern in this nation, right? It's never over. You never win and you never lose. It's only the next election cycle. It's the next cycle. How do we improve our communities? How do we provide good, sound public policy? I think 70% of residents in the state of Pennsylvania agree with that there should be school choice. So that right there tells you that there are, like, imagine if your kid is going to a failing school, being bullied every day, not learning everything, and you know your kid's has the ability to do it. Why would you want to take the opportunity away from a parent to get that child into a program where they can learn? I mean, that's what every parent wants their children to have a good education, to be well-rounded, to get a job, and to do better than what they did. Right? Nobody wants to hold them back. So as a government, we'll continue to advance policies. I'll continue to advance policies which are going to improve the lives, improve the education of folks. And there's going to be people on the other side of the aisle, which maybe they want to take, I'm for the kids in the classroom, not for the adults in education. I'm for the kids in the classroom.
I think that's a good way to wrap it up, is that, again, you're going to continue to fight for school choice. You're going to continue to fight for the kids, and you're going to continue to hopefully keep that message accountable as we do this again next year, right?
Yeah, we'll do it again next year. Like I said in the last podcast, I'm encouraging the governor, to spend a little bit of time in Pennsylvania. Right now, we could start working on the budget. It's about 7 months away, right? We're in November. We just be very, very well past the due date last time. Let's get this done. Let's get it done on time. And 7 months away, let's start working on it right now.
So those are State Representative Doyle Heffley's comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can leave them in the comments below. And of course, you can see we do address them. We do read them. and we do get to them. So remember to like and subscribe however you're watching or enjoying this podcast.